What is an example? Example, you have, for example, in carrying a key in a place that there's no eruv. In a place that there's no eruv, which eruv allows us to carry things on Shabbat. Because, figuratively speaking, it's as if they put the entire community under one roof. And there's virtually no Sephardic eruv in the world today, with the exception of a couple of places in Israel. For the most part, anyone that relies on eruv is relying on it, on Ashkenazi eruv, both in Israel and in the United States and Europe and other places. Now, not every place has an eruv, and many Sfaradim do not, and even some Ashkenazim do not, but mostly Sfaradim do not want to rely on this eruv. They don't believe in it. They disagree with it. But either way, if you want to use the eruv, it's no problem. You have Chachamim to rely on. What happens if you live in a place that there's no eruv? That means that you cannot carry on Shabbat. So what about if you want to carry things that you need? For example, you need to carry your talit to go to Beit Knesset. So logically, you should be allowed to carry talit to go to Beit Knesset because you need it. What about the house key? Logically, you should be able to carry the house key because how are you going to enter? You're not going to leave your house open. People are going to rob your house, right? Logically, you should be able to carry your house key. The answer is, Rabotai Karim, is no to either one. You're not allowed to carry not the talit and not the house key. Why? Because there's no eruv. Carrying it is an isur from a Torah. It's violating Shabbat. It's violating Shabbat. And the fact that you have a problem that you're carrying a talit, then you have to make arrangements. What are the arrangements? Leave the talit in the Beit Knesset the night before. Leave the talit in the Beit Knesset. That way you won't have, and your sidur or whatever you need, leave it in the Beit Knesset, no problem. What about the key? So there's a kehillah in France that thought that they have a way around it. What do? They invented a belt. Originally, they were putting it on their neck. Chachamim said not allowed to put it on your neck. Shulchan Aruch says not allowed to put it on your neck. So they said, okay, so Shulchan Aruch says not allowed to put the key around your neck. We're not going to leave our house unlocked, so what are we going to do? We have to bring the key. How are we going to bring the key? Can't put it in our pocket. It's the same thing. Pocket, neck, doesn't make a difference. So what are we going to do? We're going to come up with an invention. What did they make? They made an invention of a belt. They made a belt where the key became a part of the belt. The key actually became a part of the actual belt. And they said, listen, it's a part of clothing. The fact that it happens to also be a key to my house also is nice too. And they thought, okay, this should be allowed because I'm allowed to carry my belt, meaning because I'm wearing it. I'm allowed to have shoes, jacket. I'm allowed. So if the key is part of the belt, no problem. They came to Rav Ovadia, and Rav Ovadia told them no, not allowed. Even though you need it, even though it would be dangerous not to lock your house and so on and so forth, that's your problem. It's not God's problem. Meaning, you have to either live in an eruv, live in a community that's in an eruv, which is most Jewish communities today have an eruv, or you have to make arrangements to live with the circumstances, meaning you cannot carry on Shabbat. Because you're thinking that you're making a mitzvah, going to Beit Knesset on Shabbat, carrying things, or you think you're making a mitzvah, taking your family out to the park and pushing the baby stroller for your wife, you think you're doing her a favor. In reality, you're both violating Shabbat. When you don't live in an eruv, you cannot do anything pretty much on Shabbat outside. You have to stay in the house, with the exception of walking, without carrying anything. Even your baby, you can't carry. In fact, for all of those people that have dogs, I actually was looking for an etel. I was looking for a leniency for somebody recently to see what happens because they didn't know, but they're moving into a community that does not have an eruv. What do you do if you have a dog? This is a nightmare. Why? Because now you have to walk the dog. You can't leave him in the house. If you leave him in the house, then your house is going to turn into a doghouse. So what do? So I was looking for a leniency, looking through, something reliable that we could rely on. Say, okay, at least walk the dog. Because even when there is an eruv, walking the dog is difficult on Shabbat. Number one, you cannot pick up after him because it's considered muktzeh. The waist is considered muktzeh. In Israel, they don't even practice this because nobody picks up anyway in many places. But in America, everybody's politically correct. If you don't pick up, people look at you like, give you 5 looks like, you're not going to pick up after yourself? No, you can pick it up if you want. But anyway, people have a dog, they have to deal with this, especially if it's a big dog, where you can't miss it. So what do? Now, you can't pick up. On top of that, the leash has to be very short. Because if the leash is long, it's almost, the leash drags, and it's as if you're carrying the leash. It's not good. So now, if you live in a place where there's no eruv, what do? Answer is, after we looked and we looked and we looked, you're not allowed to walk your dog with a leash. You can walk your dog without a leash, but then you're making a different problem for yourself. You're not allowed to walk your dog with a leash outside. You're not allowed to, but you can walk him without a leash. But that's the problem. That's another problem. Why is the other problem walking without a leash? It could actually lead to chilul Hashem. It could lead to chilul Hashem if your dog is rowdy, if your dog ever scares somebody, if your dog, even if it's a little dog, it doesn't have to be a big dog. It could be a little dog, runs up to a little kid, playfully, but the kid gets scared. That's not a good, you have a serious problem with the Torah at that point. If your dog scares people, you have to let it go. You're not allowed to have a dog that scares people. Unless he's in your fence, in your yard, in your places, and it's not outside. People that walk around or let their dogs, roam around without a leash, especially if it's a big dog, aside from the fact that it causes chilul Hashem, it's also a sakana. It's an irresponsible danger for other people. And I was a dog owner for 16 years, and I can tell you that even though you love your dog and you adore your dog and your dog is the best and all your friends like your dog and everybody likes the dogs because of him and all that stuff, strangers don't care about any of that stuff. When I walk around on Shabbat and I see there's a stray dog, in my opinion, any dog that doesn't have a leash is a stray dog. I see a stray dog, to me, that's sakana for my kids. That's a danger for my kids. I'm going somewhere else. I don't care if he's friendly, not friendly. He can be a movie star for all I care. It doesn't make a difference. You don't take risk with other people's kids. You want to take risk with your kids? Enjoy. But you're not allowed to take risks with other people's kids. No, but I'll watch him. Oh, you'll watch him? You know exactly when he's going to lunge at somebody? I was a dog owner for a long time. Don't tell me that you know better. And it's not something against dogs. It's a reality. It's against people. The dogs are good. The people aren't. Because the people train their dogs sometimes to do things that other people don't find funny. So it's very, very important to know how to be a dog owner. It's very, very important to be how to be a Jew. It's very, very important to know how to do both on Shabbat. Because if you have a dog and you don't live in an eruv, you have a very serious problem. So now you have to find one of a few options you have. Number one, you have to let the dog go if you have maybe like a backyard or some fenced area like a mirpeset, a balcony. You have to pretty much let them go over there. 2, let them destroy your house. I don't think many people will choose choice number 2, but still have to give it to you guys. 3, give the dog away to somebody for the weekend, which will become very, very annoying to everyone after a while and expensive if you're giving it to a service. But again, that's the price of owning a dog. 4, give away the dog permanently. That's the other option. I actually have a couple of students that did that. The point being, Rabotai, is that the Torah doesn't tell you that you're not allowed to do everything. It tells you you're allowed. You're technically allowed to do almost everything you want. Rabbi Yaron Reuven used to say, he told a group of soldiers that all of their desires that they have, he does them also. The only difference is they'll go to Gehenom and he'll go to Gan Eden. Why? Because the Torah is not an instruction set that tells you not allowed everything. Everything is allowed technically. There's just a way of how it's allowed. There's a way to do everything. You're allowed to eat. It has to be kosher food. You're allowed to be intimate. Just has to be a wife. You're allowed to get clothes. It just has to be modest clothes. You're allowed to do a lot of things. There's just a way to do things. The Torah gives you an instruction set of how to do things and how to do them right. And when you don't care about anyone but yourself, then you're a danger to yourself as well as to society. So with that being said, I think you guys have a few questions relating to the issue. Go ahead. Yeah, if a person uses a dog for medicinal reasons, it's blind, or for stress, or something like that, it's not a problem as far as having the dog. They're allowed to have the dog, but they're still not allowed to use him in a place where there's no eruv. Meaning, even if it's halacha is, even if they're blind, even if the person is blind, which means a blind person, almost, many of them, the majority of them have some type of, some type of dog that's going to seeing eye dog. Even them, the halacha does not give any leniency. Meaning, if there's no eruv, don't walk around outside. You don't have to go outside. And if it's a life danger, you don't need the dog anyway. You need 911. You understand? So, let's not, we can't be like, try to fool the system. If the person has some type of medical issue and they need a dog, it's not a problem to use the dog, but it has to be in a eruv. If it's not an eruv, then it's the same thing in essence as any other dog owner. If there's an eruv, they can take him with them wherever they need to take him with them. If it's not an eruv, they're not an eruv, then they have to keep him in the house. And if they live in a house that has like a yard or something, they could let him in the yard, no problem. But in general, a person that has some type of medical problem has to know that to bring a dog to a Beit Knesset, even though legally in America you're allowed to do it, because if it's a medical dog, if it's a service dog, they call it, technically it's forbidden for anyone to tell you you're not allowed to bring your dog anywhere. It's forbidden. For, let's say, if you want to bring your dog on the airport, on the airplane itself, not in the cabins where many of them die. I'm talking about in a seat. They have to let you in. It doesn't matter how big the dog is, how small it is. They have to let the dog in if it's a service dog in America. Same thing if you want to go to any building. It could be a government building. It could be any building. If it's a service dog, a legitimate service dog, which today is very easy to become a service dog. It's just one big scam. But anyway, they have to allow you to bring the dog anywhere. Which means that by default, the synagogue also has to let you bring the dog anywhere. But I can tell you that if you do that, Hashem's not going to like you. If you bring your dog to the Beit Knesset, Hashem's not going to like you. The Keilah may not mind. The Keilah themselves may not mind. They may be very, very liberal and open to it and say, oh, he's so cute. Oh, I'm just doing Kaddah B'Kaddah Shabbat. No, say Amen to the dog. The dog says Amen. They may like the dog. The rabbi may even like it. They may even pet him. Hashem's not going to like you, though. Hashem's not going to like you. For sure, Hashem's not going to like you. Why? A dog is tameh. To bring a tameh inside a Bet Mikdash is chilul Hashem. To bring such a thing is awful. We're not even allowed. There's psukim in the Torah that talk about how the dog is not even something that you're allowed to sell to make money and use the money to buy a korban to bring to the Bet Mikdash. Because it's an impure animal. So you can have it in your house if you want, you can play with it, you can do whatever you want with it. But the reality is that to bring it to a Bet Knesset, which is a mini Bet Mikdash, it's a horrible, horrible idea. Yes?
I heard someone, if you touch him, every single time you touch him, you have to move to
100%. Every time you touch your dog, you have to do Netilat Yadayim. As a matter of fact, you're not allowed to touch your dog on Shabbat. Forgot to say that. That's also halacha. You're not allowed, because the dog is muktzeh. The dog is muktzeh, you're not allowed to touch him on Shabbat. So if you have one of these little dogs, these little Chihuahua dogs, that wants to sleep in your arms like a real baby, get a different dog. Or train him not to jump on you. You're not allowed to touch him on Shabbat. Yes.